What's up everybody? In this video I will be sharing with you pretty much every single thing you need to know about monster building in Monster Never Cry. So in the Monster Never Cry Discord, if you go into the lineup channel and then you check the pins, there are a few very important images that will set you up for the endgame. Big shout out to the Discord member Vinny DMD. Once again, I pronounced names wrong, I'm sorry if I did that. I will be going over the images and then highlighting certain things while giving my own experiences and thoughts. We have popular lineup suggestions for early, mid, and late game. We have a magic device guide, and then we have a early, mid, and late game rune/glyph guide. This is pretty much the core aspects for setting up in this game. Of course, there's also monster awakening priority, but that's a long and costly process that I'm not going to get into in this video. I'll try to make this short and sweet, so let's get it. First image bringing up will be referring to popular lineup suggestions. As it says, the Discord member Bipolar Bear also helped make this possible. I won't cover early game because like any idle gacha, you will quickly outgrow the monsters suggested, at least the legendary ones. These are just meant to be there for stepping stones, so monsters like Adlington, Loki, and Siren. The others suggested like Zenobia, Jarm, Coronis, Lilith, Undyne, Octasia are easier to get due to either being a part of the first week login rewards, beginner week quest rewards, sacrifice shop, or treasure hunt summons. Lilith will be a reoccurring monster because, well, she's the top tier mage, easier to gain copies of due to multiple shops, and has ridiculous AoE damage. Moving down to mid game, this is where you'll have dropped all your legendary monsters and replaced with either trio Hellfire monsters or A/D monsters, which are your abyssal and draconic. It will depend if you're free to play, low spender, high spender, RNG luck, etc. It gives you suggestions for frontline, carries, and supports with the recommended ones highlighted in yellow. It's not to say you can't use other ones like Reddy, Medusa, Venus, and Octasia. However, I do think Octasia should be highlighted as well since more players seem to be building Snyder to Awakening 15, which negates healing, so Cuckoo team compositions, as many people just want to run Cuckoo as their support, have a harder time while Octasia works with shields. Now if we go down into the late game compositions, you have your standard, your bruiser, triple mage, crowd control, funnel, sustain, dive, and mono abyss. So you have quite a few listed options here, each has their own description of how it works. There's two I want to highlight since these two I have experience with. The first comp is going to be the triple mage. Now I actually had something a bit different than this. Before the rise of Snyder, because his Awakening 15 was not working, but now it is, many slotted Nafisa in here. Vespa is now no longer limited, but if you weren't playing the game when she had her 2 event banners, it's going to be harder for you to build her up from scratch since in the Evil Soul shop she costs 70 Primeval Crystals compared to the other Abyssal and Draconic being 60. So my lineup was Zenobia and Avanzo in the front, Lilith, Nafisa, and Undyne in the back line. The reason I have since dropped Nafisa is because although she does apply an increased damage taken debuff, because she ults so fast and is doing constant AoE damage, the enemy is actually... Crazy girl! The enemy is actually building up their energy just as fast or faster. In many battles, because of my Nafisa, the enemy Lilith would get her ultimate off faster than mine, resulting in me losing the battle. It became very frustrating. She is still great in PvE though. Then I since dropped Undyne for Vespa because, well, Vespa is just an absolute powerhouse. If you don't have access to Vespa, I think still using Lilith, Snyder, and Undyne will be solid. So my new lineup is a bit different and definitely not the most optimal, but I ended up dropping Avanzo and picking up Dracula on this account. So I've switched over to, I guess you can say, a bruiser team comp. I use the frontline Zenobia and Vespa and backline Lilith, Dracula, and Octasia. The reason I place Vespa in the front is because I don't want my Dracula to get picked off fast, and because Vespa has sustain, I really want her to get hit fast so she can build up to her broken ultimate faster, which is that AoE charm. Sometimes I have to put Dracula in the front because my Vespa is still only 10 stars at the moment. I just need my account to get strong enough so I'm able to go into her memory casket, and then once I beat that, I can try her boss stage to get her egg, and then I'm going to have enough copies to bring her up to 11. But because right now she's 10, she still sometimes dies quite easily. The point of this bruiser style comp is to have strong frontline damage with some form of sustain in either Cuckoo or Octasia. I just haven't had any luck with Cuckoo copies on this account, so in the meantime I am using Octasia. The second comp is going to be on my beta account, which is more or less a failed funnel comp. If you look at this setup suggested, the idea is to have a beefy tank besides Cuckoo, because when Cuckoo goes into the air and becomes untargetable, the focus will be swapped, so you need a tank to just sit there getting healed while your backline outputs burst DPS. My beta account, I kind of run a wonky setup right here with a Vonzo Cuckoo in the front and then Lilith, Zenobia, Snyder in the back. The issue with the funnel comp is I think it got patched where instead of the enemy swapping to the other frontliner, they just walk past your cuckoos to, oh my god, that's such a weird word to say. They just walk past your cuckoo to your backline, which defeats the purpose of the comp itself, so that is why I have Zenobia. I mean, also Zenobia is one of my favorite monsters, I'm never going to drop her, but when the battle starts, Zenobia will walk up in the middle with a Vonzo on the side, so when my Cuckoo goes up into the air, everything is still focused on my front line. If I had, say, 3 ranged backline in the same match, you're going to see the left side enemies just walk straight past Cuckoo to my backline and start wreaking havoc. Anyways, that's just what I've seen happen, and that's why I think the funnel comp is a little hit or miss. Moving into Magic Device Guide, this one will be pretty short as the guide itself is self-explanatory, however it doesn't give an explanation of the choices. You have your mage, fighter, support, and tanks. The recommended options will be highlighted yellow, but also gives other options since you can only have one of each Mythic Magic Guide in a single setup. So looking over the Mage class, you can see the Sword of Oath is great for the popular Mage DPS monsters like Undyne, Lilith, and Snyder. It gives you that damage increase. Because they are backline range DPS, slapping either a Rune or Glyph with Tranquility will cover the problem of getting CC'd before you're able to pop off your first ultimate. Deep Sea Tome looks to be recommended for Vespa to help with survivability. You really need her to survive to utilize that broken ultimate. Heading to the fighter class, you're going to see Sword of Oath is also recommended, but this is just a preference, remember. If you use this magic guide for one of your mage DPS, then because fighters are frontline, you can opt in to use the Wingstar Staff. You can see it's recommended for Dracula, so you can do a more DPS focused build, meaning not worrying so much about Tranquility on your Rune or Glyph. Wingstar Staff allows you to be CC immune for 12 seconds, which is more than enough time to pop off your ultimate. It's also one thing to note level 1, 2, and 3 of Mythic Magic Guides all gain added effects. For example, you can see for level 1 Sword of Oath, which requires 100 shards, you can gain this effect that is triggered once per battle. At level 2, gain 100% crit for 5 seconds and an improved shield. This effect can be triggered 2 times per battle. Then at level 3, which I honestly don't know how many shards total, as I can only tell you from 3 to 4 stars cost 240 shards, you will be able to gain an improved shield, plus the effect can be triggered 3 times per battle. Currently on this beta account, since I'm done Sword of Oath to level 2, I'm now working on Wingstar Staff, as you will gain what looks to be a permanent damage boost of 10% after 8 seconds, and this can stack twice, so 20% after 16 seconds. I think this is pretty good. Another thing to look at is the gallery bonus. Because I already invested into Sword of Oath, I figured I might as well continue the bonus. It does suck it improves def and evasion, but it is what it is. You can see if I opted to go for the Deep Sea Tome plus Prophecy of Time, this would improve attack and hit. Just keep this in mind as it's a nice way to gain power bumps. And finally moving into the Rune/Glyph guide. Now there are 2 images here, one for the early mid and one for late. For this video, I'm just going to be highlighting the late game suggestions. You can see at the top it says it is recommended that all monsters run some form of Tranquility, whether that's on your Rune, Glyph, or using, say, that Mythic Magic Guide Wingstar Staff I showed earlier. The reason being is CC crowd control is a frustrating pain in the butt and will be a game changer if you have no way to prevent this. Now the image does say this is just for Glyphs, but because Runes and Glyphs share the same skills, you can just use this information to build up your monster accordingly. Meaning for Lilith, it is recommended Tranquility, Intimidate, and Piercing. Then it has other options like Quickness, Warpath, and Technique. Just remember, this is just a guideline. You can build however you want. It also doesn't give descriptions of why the choices were made, but if you read over what the skills do, you can kind of get an idea why. So for Tranquility, obvious reasons to avoid that CC at the start of the battle. Intimidate is solid because if you use Lilith, you know her ultimate has AoE one-shot potential, so this is going to give you an opportunity to stun the enemy. Piercing is another one because it will negate defense, so anyone with a high amount of this stat, such as tanks, will still take high damage. Then you have potential Quickness, which will improve the time taken to reach your ultimate with energy, and then you have Technique for overall higher skill damage. I'm really not a fan of Warpath as the attack bonus gained isn't that much, and I'd just rather slot in something different. You can go down this list and see what monsters you have and what are the recommended skills. What I will say about Runes versus Glyphs is I've focused more heavily into Glyphs on all my accounts, The reason being is they both require enchantment scrolls to enhance. The difference is runes are very RNG on both what skill you roll and what level. Unless you re-roll a lot, say in this example on this Night rune using the Reforge, it costs 3,750 enchantment scrolls per Reforge, and after 15 total you can click this to choose what skill you want to replace. However, what you can replace correlates with the level of the skill, so I can't change this level 2 skill to a level 3. So 15 times 3,750 is 56,250 enchantment scrolls needed to hit those 15 Reforges. In those 15 Reforges, you'll pray that you get lucky and get another level 3 skill you can use. That way the other one you can simply replace. The gamble is high because what if you only get a level 2 skill? You're going to need to continue this Reforge process. Also, in order to even get, say, a Night rune, you need to forge 5 legendary, or in this game they call it Twilight runes. Runes take forever to get, so it's your choice what you want to focus. Anyways, what I like and prefer about glyphs is there's no RNG other than what you get refreshed in the glyph shop. Sure, you may not get what you want for a while, but there's plenty of skills to work on, and you know you're eventually going to get one of them. So if we take an equivalent glyph to a Night rune which gives a level 3 skill, to get to this point, you would need 6 dupes of the skill plus 20,000 enchantment scrolls. Either way you spin it, it is costly, and it's just not logical to work on both unless you're spending. I prefer to go with the guaranteed. Another thing is once you do make a mythic glyph, the next step doesn't require enchantment scrolls. You can see to start up my Tranquility, it will cost 12 dupes plus 500 glyph essence instead, which is from the Guardian shop. 500 is equal to 30,000 Guardian shop currency. This gives a little breathing room to work on another glyph, as you just need to wait for the dupes and buy them as you get them. Also, you can break down your glyphs for resources back by going into your inventory, equip, glyph, then clicking on one and hitting transmute. This will allow you to break down all of your glyphs in your inventory for the respected enchantment scrolls back at the cost of gems. You can see here, if I transmute this glyph, I'm going to get back 10,000 enchantment scrolls plus 5 glyphs at the cost of 200 gems. This way you can build up glyphs to use, and if you no longer need them, break them down to work on others. You can do the same with runes, but like I said, it takes forever to get runes, and I don't see a reason to do this since you need to forge 5 of the same quality to get a better quality anyways. All of these images will be linked in the video description. Much appreciated to the contributors. These are all very well done, and it will help a lot of players. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.